To go at it. Fun one last time out as Chattanooga advanced to tomorrow night's championship game. One more spot left. Paladins and Spartans are fighting for it. As you take a look at the bracket, Chattanooga advancing with the win over ETSU, Jason, and Chalk holding in this side of the bracket with the 2 and 3 seed going at it.
Well, and think about it. Now the three teams left standing are the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. It is the Chalk that remains. And first service being handled right away as UNCG has the opportunity to do that with Betlock controlling, but the first point is controlled by the Furman Paladins, the team out of Greenville, South Carolina, hoping to get back to the championship match for a second straight year, Phil.
And setting it up was Jo Wilkes. She had 48 assists yesterday. Jason, over 4,000 on the career for Wilkes, setting things up.
Well, you talk about Wilkes. She is looking at a total of 5,065, which is first in Furman history all time in career assist. And she's the first player in Furman history to ever go over 5,000. So look for her as the offense always seems to go through her to continue to set things up just like that. As a little back and forth in our 1-1 initial set between the Spartans and Furman Paladins continues. And there's a nice tandem up on that net. Combination for ETSU of both Ashley Minch as well as, you see Jasmine Jones up there. Jasmine Jones, a name we'll call over and over again if yesterday was any indication for UNCG.
Yeah, we talked a lot about the tandem in our last matchup. And we see the blocking working once again this time for the Spartans.
Well, we talked about double-doubles in that quarterfinal matchup, and really that was the story coming out of the quarterfinals. Every team that made it into semifinal Sunday had somebody that came through with a double-double. It's Mitch on the UNCG side who had that with 15 kills and 14 digs, so she, in essence, is our player to watch for UNCG. And for Furman, the player of the year in the Southern Conference, Annie Bierman. She wears number 8. You see her go to the floor and nearly keep it alive. Can't quite keep it inside the antenna at the top of the net. And as a result, it's a UNCG point. But Bierman, nonetheless, 14 kills yesterday, 18 digs, yet another double-double for Bierman.
Yeah, she 51 total attacks. You see how much they go to the SoCon Player of the Year, and rightfully so. On that back line, extremely powerful in those swings over the net.
Always talk about extremely powerful. How about Furman and Bolander up over the top there just an instant ago. Another setup. A name we'll call over and over again. And Johnson on the left front side, right at the net again. Little touch, a little bit of a different look from Jo Wilkes. Now Wilkes rises it in the air. There's the Furman libero. We can introduce you to Meg DeMar. And a point for the Paladins. As they push it to 3-3. 6 points in the books, just getting underway, just finding a rhythm here in Cullowhee, and they've been split right down the middle between the Paladins and the Spartans. UNCG making the trip from Greensboro across 40. Furman making the trip up I-26, and then a short jaunt across 40 here. From Greenville, South Carolina, to battle it out in this semifinal Sunday match, and the Paladins have the advantage. 4-3 is the score, and Furman will have Sosha back to the service line. Set up for Jones. And now her counterpart wearing that jersey number 1, Bolander for the Paladins. A little bit of open space, and UNCG evens it back up at 4-apiece. All right, Phil, give us some keys. We've talked about key players that you want to keep an eye on with the way Bierman has performed all year as well as in this tournament, with the way Mitch has performed in this tournament for UNCG. You see her there now, really our player to watch for the Spartans. But what are the keys in your mind to success in this second semifinal match?
I think for UNCG, we saw it just a second ago as you see it there again. Santiago with 21 digs yesterday. She's going to have to be very good in that libero spot and digging things out. Furman is so good. They're so powerful when you talk about Bierman and Sosha and so many powerful players for them doing things, great things above the net as you see Santiago diving for that one once again. I think for Furman, they just set things up so well when you talk about Wilkes setting things up for the Conference Player of the Year. If they can have that going for them for a couple of sets, I think it would breed a lot of success for the Paladins.
Point Furman, and the Paladins are out front 6-4. To revisit Santiago for just a moment, if you're not familiar with Catherine Santiago, she is the Southern Conference Libero of the Year. played in 105 sets in the regular season. That is in, and it's a UNCG point. A SoCon leading right at 5 digs per set, 4.84. She'll come off for the moment. You'll see that though in size she may be a little smaller than everybody out there on the floor, her heart and her ability to cover space on the court as big as anybody in the Southern Conference.
Yeah, she moves extremely well, and you see UNCG having to work without her there as Furman takes advantage of a nice job by the Paladins to recognize that. But Santiago, you're right, not real big, but her quickness and her hustle makes up for that.
Let's talk about the awards that were handed out when you mentioned she is the Southern Conference Libero of the Year. Bierman, a first-teamer, and also the Player of the Year out of the Southern Conference, as we documented, as Furman loads up, gets a pretty good delivery from Sikora. And now the Paladins just working it across. Pretty good rally back and forth. How about all the way down to keep it alive for Furman, Meg DeMar. A name we'll call over and over again in this semifinal match as well. This is beyond the back line and a point for UNCG. The other two honorees for Furman, they were freshmen. It was Johnson and Campbell, the middle blocker and the outside hitter, who made their way onto the all-freshman team. Those were the 3 honorees for the Paladins as UNCG goes back to work in service. They had as many as anybody in the Southern Conference, Phil, 5 of them. We'll get to those in a moment, but what about the work of Karis Campbell? Just mentioned her as one of those key freshmen. She shows you why.
She's got great size up near the net, elevates well, able to find that corner there. You have to worry so much about Bierman on the back line, but Campbell up near the net, although Furman has youth up there, Campbell really provides some stability.
Bierman in service uses the tape, and then they use a great swing from Sikora, but only to set things up in the end for the Spartans. And the combo of Westerber and Gregory come away with a UNCG point as they pull within 1. And let's talk about those 5 all-conference selections for the Spartans. Obviously, Mitch, who is coming off the double-double. Then you've got Breswin and Santiago, who were second-team selections. And the 2 freshmen, Jones and Penner. And Penner, a name we haven't really called yet, but you will see her time and time again throughout the day today. Wears that jersey number 15, and she was the Freshman of the Year, received the Raina Taylor Award as Freshman of the Year, due in large part to over 1,000 assists. First in the SoCon with right at 11%, Phil.
That's very impressive, just like Wilkes does it on the Furman side. Penner setting things up with garnering all those assists, does the job for the Spartans.
You saw Penner right up there on the net for an instant. She and Santiago, those 2 main honorees, working together on the UNCG side, but to no avail. And Furman, with Meg DeMar at the service line, leads at 10-8. Boy, valiant effort for the Paladins from Johnson. Johnson, the freshman, hometown product out of Greenville, South Carolina. Went to St. Joe's High School, and boy, is she making them proud. She continues to fly all over the place, and this good rally continues, but only until it reaches the grasp of Ashley Mitch once again. The sophomore with a finish.
Boy, how good was she on that play, and how good was she yesterday, Jason? You mentioned the double-double, 15 kills, go along with those 14 digs. She's very important for the Spartans to be successful today.
Wise decision on that back line by the combo of Bierman and DeMar as they let it go. It's just a bit too strong. And the Paladins now have Sikora at the service line. There again is Mitch. Johnson, who time and again has gone down to save it for Furman. Gives them another chance at what will result in their 12th point. Here's another look at it.
Well, you don't see it on that replay, but Jamila Johnson, she only had 2 digs yesterday, but her efforts today have been awfully impressive, keeping some balls alive for Furman and putting the Paladins in a position to score.
And now Johnson will try and load up with a swing of her own, though it's just off the mark. And the point goes to UNCG. Going back to that last Furman point, Phil, that was Bierman with some distance between herself and the net, finding a way to send it across. And here's the aforementioned Allison Penner, that left-handed serve of the Conference Freshman of the Year, a trademark for number 15. Too strong again. Although, a little bit of contact, they're going to say, off the Furman Paladins on that front line. Sent it beyond that inline for the 12-11 score as UNCG gets awarded the point.
sometimes it's just as important. You're trying to get your hands on balls, Jason. It's just as important to get your hand out of the way in certain situations.
Moyer and Jones up on the line. Jones leads the team in blocks per set, right around 1. You can see why, as Jasmine Jones, right up front there, evens the score at 12 apiece. A little bit different look from Wilkes. Now Wilkes trying to set Jones up, but reading it perfectly and responding just as perfectly as Moyer, the junior out of West Virginia, gives the lead to UNCG. Too strong. Service error, and the Paladins will send a substitution in as Sosha, the senior from Pittsburgh, is at the service line.
Came off the bench today, already providing a lift for the Paladins.
Speaking of blocking up on the net, one good number 1 as a blocker deserves another, and there's Bolander for the Paladins.
She provides good size up there. You talk about the combination of Karis Campbell and Bolander up there near the net. Gives you good size for Furman.
Decent punch coming for Jasmine Jones, but it sails a little too far beyond that sideline, and it's 15-13 Paladins. We are in the 7th match of the 2015 Southern Conference Championships. The second semifinal Sunday contest of the day. Phil will be set when this one's done. We know Chattanooga has already advanced to play the winner of this UNCG Furman showdown. Paladins trying to make their way back to the finals match for a second straight year. They were the 14 tourney runner-up after winning the 2014 regular season championship. UNCG, they're seeking their first ever title match appearance. They've made 12 appearances in the Southern Conference Championships. You see this latest point for Furman. And the Spartans are 7-12 all time in tournament action coming into this 2015 edition of the tournament. And they're looking for the first time ever to try and make the title match. So you got a team with a tremendous amount of success over the years in Furman. One in UNCG under Coach Corey Carlin, who is looking to try and build some success. And those Spartans gather around Coach Carlin, trailing by 3.
This has been a pretty tight first set. UNCG just wanting to take a timeout here as Furman's opened up a little bit of an advantage as we're starting to get late here in the first set. But timeouts played a really, really big role in our first matchup with Chattanooga advancing, and see if UNCG is able to draw something up here and get back in this 2-3 matchup here we have here this evening.
Fans looking on from just behind us, most of them seated to our left and our right. Good contingency of Furman fans directly behind us, and UNCG represented down to our right, the bottom right corner of your screen. A pep band in effect as well. UNCG sending a little bit of addition to the environment here for this semifinal showdown, which has given us these numbers to this juncture.
See the kills even at 9 apiece. Both teams probably like to get the errors down a little bit, already 5 apiece, but even pretty much right down the board, except when you get to the bottom. Furman out digging UNCG as of now.
Furman's Michelle Young breaks the huddle with her Paladins after the timeout called for by UNCG. Michelle Young in her 16th season, over 300 victories in her tenure at Furman. All 16 years as a head coach, coming in Greenville, South Carolina. And her Paladins respond well out of the UNCG timeout. Furman now up 4.
How about Bierman? That is a impressive swing. And Bierman, we talked about her doing the job away from the net, up near the net that time, getting the point for Furman.
Annie Bierman, the 3-time Player of the Week, the October Player of the Month. She led the SoCon, averaging between 4 and 5 kills per set across the course of the 2015 campaign. Service handle for UNCG as they won the point to pull within 3. Loading up and firing away. A perfect swing from the freshman, Karis Campbell. Member of the All-SoCon freshman team. Making sure everybody here in the Ramsey Center is aware of her presence. And Furman up 19-15 in set number 1. It's Wilkes, the leader, the distributor, who is now at the service line. And a point for the Paladins before she even has to put it in play to get them to the 20 threshold.
We talked about the errors each side with 5, and one hurting the Spartans there. And it's late in these sets that those errors just become more amplified.
Timeout again. This time we'll take the break with them. You're watching live coverage of semifinal Sunday on the SoCon Digital Network. It's Furman leading UNCG 20-15 in the first set.
Make sure you're at the U.S. Cellular Center in Asheville, North Carolina, March 3rd through 7th for the 2016 SoCon Basketball Championships presented by General Shale. You don't want to miss the action as your favorite SoCon teams compete for the tournament championship and an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Book your travel and tickets by logging on to SoConTravel.com or by contacting the U.S. Cellular Center box office. See who gets to go dancing. Get your tickets today.
Some of the changes I've seen myself since I've been here at UNCG is just I've been really challenged. I've been really encouraged to come out of my comfort zone.
As a professor, what I feel is most important is to find that passion.
Do you have this dream of doing something bigger for the world, but you don't know how to get there? This is the place where you go to figure it out.
Wilkes back at the service line, leading at 20-15. Chattanooga waiting in the championship match at 6 p.m. tomorrow night here in Cullowhee, North Carolina. And a fight for it right at the plane atop the net. And in the end, the battle won by the Paladins 21-15, the Furman advantage.
How good has Campbell been in their first set?
Garris Campbell, the freshman, a name we've called over and over again. Campbell, not just a contributor here in the semifinals, she was a factor in the quarterfinals yesterday also. 6 kills at 40, or check that, 6 kills, and also had the one very critical service ace in that matchup yesterday. 21-16, UNCG trying to battle back in this first set. Above is Campbell again. Just as you call for her, Phil, on cue, she makes another contribution to put the Furman total at 22.
Yeah, really going to her a lot. Just 16 total attacks yesterday, but she's already piling them up here in the first set as Wilkes set her up beautifully for that kill.
Out of the reach of Bierman. One more milestone we should make folks aware of, as you saw Bierman make a valiant effort for it, though UNCG stays in control trying to battle back. Trailing by 5 at 22-17. Bierman approaching both digs and kills at the 1,000 threshold. She's right on the verge of both of those. We'll keep you posted along the way as Furman rises tall, makes it 23-17. She is in need of 26 kills and 16 digs, which with some of the outstanding matches she's had along the way this year wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. Needing both of those to get to the 1,000 threshold in each of those categories. Here she is, setting it up along with Wilkes. Johnson on that front side. Good effort, but the Spartans respond. And in the end, Bierman unable to do anything with the return, and UNCG back within 5.
You know, the Spartans have been having to battle from behind most of this first set, but staying right with it. Talk so much about Furman and the good things that they've done, and rightfully so, but Spartans quietly trying to stay in this first set.
Westerber was at the service line. In the end, it is off of Westerber, and the Paladins now facing set point. As UNCG will try and extend it here. Loading up and firing away off that front line was Minch. But in the end, Furman will take the first set, 25-18. 7 the advantage for the Paladins. The 1 seed having already advanced, the 2 seed perhaps on the verge of doing so. 1 set in the books here in Cullowhee. Furman with a 1-0 advantage.
There's something in our souls that never sleeps, an ever-running engine that pushes us, compels us, makes us think 2 steps ahead, keeps us pushing, reflecting, inquiring, discovering. No matter who we are, where we come from, what we do, we all have one thing in common. We are driven.
Entertained here inside the Ramsey Center. We're at Western Carolina University, the host for the 2015 Southern Conference Volleyball Championships. And the Furman Paladins, the second seed, taking on third-seeded UNCG. This UNCG team that took care of Wofford in 4 sets. Furman, a similar match against Mercer that took the same amount of sets for them to advance. Here, first advantage goes to the Paladins.
Well, and going back to that Wofford game, the Terriers really had their way in that first set before UNCG bounced back and were able to take down the Terriers. So maybe something in the back of their minds that they can rest on and not use going forward. But Furman, very sharp, Jason, in the first set, a 263 hitting percentage. Attack percentage is 73%. Very efficient.
You saw Johnson on your screen there a moment ago, as well as DeMar, who now makes her way back to the service line to get us underway in set number 2. This match was led in storylines by the 2 star players who were out there, really 3 key players that were out there receiving Southern Conference honors. We had the Libero of the Year, but those 2 were talking about the freshman of the year, Annie Bierman in the Southern Conference, the junior outside hitter in that first match.
Well, very impressed with her. Just 2 kills, but no error, so she didn't, hurt her team in any way in that regard. 4 digs, so very solid for the player of the year in Annie Bierman.
And how about the first set for that freshman of the year on the other side, and Allison Penner?
Well, she was effective as well. 3 total attacks, 1 error. Did pick up 4 digs, so maybe not doing the things offensively she wanted, but defensively she was definitely a presence.
In the end, it's Jamila Johnson with what amounts to her 3rd kill, puts her right there with Sakura, second only to Karis Campbell on this Furman team, and she gives them a 2-0 advantage out of the gate here in set number 2. Boy, job on the front for UNCG. They block it. Left side of the net, come back right side, same result. And this time they're able to finally work it around the powerful Julia Westerber, who had provided the defense up on that net, but a good swing, and the finish credited to Sakura.
Good teams will spread a defense out. Furman doing a great job on that one of just spreading the UNCG defense out and getting a point out of it.
Looking up at the referee was Westerber that time. She felt as if perhaps there was some contact with one of those Furman players. But the point awarded to the Paladins. And now loading up from the left side and attacking a name we expect to call more and more the first team all-conference selection, Ashley Minch, who will be credited with the finish here, the Hurdle Mills, North Carolina native, out of Orange High School in Hurdle Mills. With that most recent point, though, the Paladins answer right back and will now send Socorro to the service line. Furman out to a 5-1 advantage after also running out to a 1-set to nothing advantage, taking the initial set. This set up, other side. Minch just off the mark with her swing, and Furman with the point.
Good setup there by the Spartans. Just had her a little too far out, and UNCG is going to take a timeout.
Paladins having run it out to a 6-1 advantage right away. Phil, we'll hold it right here during the timeout, and I'll ask you to break down for us what we've seen in this second set from the Paladins. Much of what we saw at the end of the first.
It was, and I think Furman's done a nice job of being patient, and they've been able to spread out UNCG a little bit. When you can set things up well and do that, then you're going to breed yourself a lot of success.
Here are the stats. You see the .295 attack percentage for the Paladins to just .120 for UNCG. But the digs, which really have helped separate things just a bit for Furman, even though UNCG has been the more effective blocking team so far in this match. Ability to dig it out for Furman has led to 6 more kills along the way.
Well, I think Furman's done a nice job of once they complete their attack offensively, you've got to get back in good defensive posture. You've not only got to be back in that area, but you've got to be in the right stance to dig it out correctly. It's not enough just to get a hand on it. You've got to dig it to the area you want. Furman plus 11 in the dig category, as you mentioned.
Spartans making their 13th appearance all time in the Southern Conference Volleyball Championships. As we said earlier, their record in the SoCon Championship 7-12, and they're trying for the first time ever to appear in the championship match. Furman was there just a year ago, came up short to Sanford. They've been on track to take care of that unfinished business all season long, nearly secured the top seed overall in this tournament, falling just behind Chattanooga as the tournament's number 2 seed. And now on a big rally, it's Johnson who rises above with a right-handed swing to finish.
Finding that corner, and they do a nice job. You see once again, Jason, see how spread out the UNCG defense is, and Furman picking their spots.
Well, and they spread them out with the extended nature of that last rally, Phil, and this one completely different, but the same result, a Furman point to put them up 8-1. Minch. And now keeping it alive was Jasmine Jones. Furman libero DeMar down to the floor. Johnson again. This time it is answered, and it's answered well. Paladins continue their run. 9-1 Furman. And timeout to be called for once again. UNCG. Corey Carlin burning those timeouts here in the first part of this second set as they quickly trail by 8.
Again, Furman just staying on the offensive. It looks like the Spartans are constantly on their heels, and Furman, when you take into account what Johnson is doing up near the net, Campbell a while ago, Bolander getting into the action, Socorro attacking from different points on the floor. It's just an extremely well-balanced attack by the Paladins. It's that great mix of patience and aggressiveness by Furman, and they're striking that balance very well here.
Roman Ishin flying around all over the place in the last couple of sequences. Maybe she's a player to watch as well for UNCG, wearing that number 13, and although she didn't have anything on the stat sheet out of that first set, we saw her appear a couple of times trying to do the same thing in that digs department that Furman has done so well in the initial part of this match.
Doing things like that and also encouraging her teammates as well. Very vocal out there on the floor. You see her in the back line for UNCG. She tries to exhort her team, make sure everybody's in position, and you're right, we may start calling her name a little bit more if the Spartans start to put a dent into this lead.
9-1 is the Furman advantage out of the timeout. Minch thinking perhaps some contact with a Furman player was there, looked up. Our referee said no, and we should give credit to our referees. They've done a fine job throughout this tournament today. It's Keith Weller and Brian Jones handling things in what amounts to match number 7 on semifinal Sunday. It is our second match of the day, and we'll set the field for tomorrow night's championship against Chattanooga. having already slated their slot there by winning a bit earlier in that matchup with ETSU. Santiago back out there, another for UNCG. They'll be looking to, as the deficit now stands at 10. Continuing to try to send that offense, Phil, through Ashley Minch. She had the 5 kills on 17 attacks in the first set. And here again, they keep feeding her on that left side, but it continues to be instead Johnson over on the left side of the net for Furman, making the difference. And she's loading up again. This time the block is there. Jasmine Jones, enough of it to land it back on that Furman side and stay the rally for the Paladins.
And you get service on your side too, so you get to set things up the way you want. And sometimes that's all it takes is 1 point, you gaining service to stem the tide and start to cut into this lead.
Wilkes to set it up. Bierman fires away. Minch answers, and Santiago everything she could to get to the floor, but not in time, as the Paladins extended to 11 and 13-2. As close early as that first set was, in the back and forth nature of it before Furman nailed it down by 7. This one a different story. Paladins took control in the beginning, and they've stayed there. This could stem the tide and turn it the other way. How about Alexis Moore? Rising above, makes it 13-3.
It's one of the better attacks, not only in this set, but this match UNC's got.
Alexis Moore here, out of Elkview, West Virginia. Davis and Elkins. Transfer from George Washington. Again, Jasmine Jones. We told you she was the leading blocker, right at 1%. This is a team that had 4 blocks in the first set. Jones has a couple of them here on her own here in set number 2.
Nicely done. That was textbook, going up, timing it beautifully, having to play with a little tape on her hand, but not affecting Jones.
Point for Furman. Paladins slipping away a little bit. 14-4 out of the grasp of UNCG, much to the liking of Michelle Young. 16 years into her tenure in Greenville with the Paladins. UNCG pleasing Corey Carlin with that most recent point, which will go the Spartans' direction, and now substitutions coming in, including Lauren Bedlick, the Phoenix native out of Sit Catholic Prep, the senior, to the service line. Bierman, but the response there for Bedlick. On the front was Westerber. Solid decision. You saw the glance from Betlock. She looked in the direction of Minch. They both decided to get out of the way, and the wisdom from those two on display.
That's what we were talking about earlier. Sometimes you've got to dig it, you got to get to the ball. Other times you got to get out of the way. You got to know when to do both of them.
A wide open spot in the middle. Furman found it, and the Paladins up 15-6.
One thing worth bringing up, we talked about it a moment ago, is the digs. Not only the amount that Furman's gotten, Jason, but it's so important to dig it to the right spot. You can't just dig it and get it out of there. You got to put it in the right spot for your teammate, and Furman has done a great job of that in building this lead.
Bierman may have landed that just inside the line. Knowing that was the case, Mitch gave it everything to try and get there. Look at how close this was going to be to landing on the line anyway. And Mitch not quite able to return it, so it's 16-6. Set up very well. This time the finish is provided by Westerber, but she was put in a really good spot.
Allison Penner set her up for it. That was nicely done. When you can set it in stride for your attacker, you oftentimes set her up in a great spot, and it puts the defense in a real bind.
Penner, who went over 1,000 assists in the regular season, sees that number continue to climb, and the point's going to be given to the Spartans. Furman in a little bit of disbelief. They thought there was contact there, but it does not appear to be the case, Phil. Ends up out. Now, Michelle Young, got to talk things over with our referees after that brief conversation. To the service line for UNCG is Gregory, Christina Gregory. That's a name we haven't called that much yet. Gregory out of Louisville, Kentucky in her freshman season. Already seeing ample playing time for the Spartans. And she handles the service nicely to pull them back within 9 at 17-8.
Just what I was going to say. Good to see UNCG back within single digits and still trying to be methodical, chip away at this.
Point to Furman. One more look here. That looked almost identical to what we saw just a moment ago. That downward swing from the front line for those Paladins. Wilkes colliding on the far side with Sikora. Furman recovers. And not only they will recover, they will also extend their advantage. Becomes 18-10 as Furman is within 8, or out front by 8. As you see Coach Carlin working his way out there. Saw Michelle Young working her way onto the edge of that floor just a moment ago. Saw the scoring being set there. It's now at 18-11 and UNCG making a bit of a run, Phil.
Yeah, within 7, and it's been methodical. They've been able to chip away at it. It's helped that they've been in service, been able to set some things up, and Furman has made a miscue here and there.
Johnson near the net, gets it off that front line, and as a result, it'll be a Furman point. 19 of them for Furman. Paladins taking the first set 25-18. 14 regular season champs and tournament runner-up looking for a return into the championship match. Sending a strong message here in the second set about their intentions to get there. Olander answered by UNCG. And it's DeMar. Followed by Sikora. There's Santiago setting it up very well for Minch. Now Minch there to block. Ends up making contact with both the front and back lines as it puts Furman across the 20 threshold.
Paladins really attack that back line well. They try to serve to it. They attack to it. They feel like that's an area they can have an advantage in.
Wilkes digging it out. Goes all the way to the back line. Bierman and then Johnson. Santiago wise to just let it go. Point for UNCG. The libero of the year in the Southern Conference. Not only her presence on the floor, not only the location as she comes out, gets a breather with the rotation substitution for the service line, but her awareness of exactly where she is, just as impressive for Santiago. Furman battles right back with a point of their own, 21-12. The Paladins advantage as they have been in control of this second set from its beginning. A couple of runs by UNCG. Here perhaps another as Jasmine Jones is strong on the net.
You mentioned early in our second set, Romanishin may be important. She's played a lot. She's been in there, been in service a couple of times, helped get UNCG back into this one. Maybe hasn't filled up the stat sheet, but just her presence out there has been a real lift for the Spartans.
Penner and now Santiago working together in the middle. Those two honorees. This point to Furman, 22-13 Paladins. This would be one of the more sizable set final scores that we've had across the course of the 2 days of this tournament. If the Paladins can close things down in the next several moments. UNCG, other thoughts about it. They battle back with a 14th point. Just off the front of DeMar. Mitch off the tape, atop the net. Now a nice block on the far side. Breswin. Santiago not quite able to get there. But what about Breswin? That last time, she kept it alive before Catherine Santiago made that diving stab. Breswin out of Illinois in her junior season. Service error will give it back to UNCG. Now they have to make a run down 23-15.
Well, they've already made one. but Furman's been able to kind of keep an arm's length and not let them get too close. They've been within 8 a couple of times. That's where they are right here. Furman's been able to kind of keep them right at that area.
Bad luck. In the end, for Furman, it ends up being Karis Campbell who reemerges on that front line and sets up a set point for the Paladins.
Once again, putting it up for your attacker in stride. Wilkes doing the job, Campbell finishing it off.
Just off the tape, Mitch, solid. And now way up there with elevation was Breswin. Santiago calms everything, sets it up for Breswin again, and Breswin delivers. UNCG within 8 at 24-16. Substitutions for the Spartans. You see Christina Gregory come in to head to the service line. Gregory, a right-handed slap serve. Dives for it, and that'll do it for the Paladins. They get it just over the front line, and Furman, by finals of 25-18 and now 25-16, will carry a 2-0 advantage into the locker room.
Really spaced UNCG out very well, especially to gain that big lead early in the set. Held off a pretty good charge by UNCG, as we thought the Spartans would do, but just a fantastic job by the Paladins as they have the big lead on the 3 seed.
The 3rd seed with their work cut out for them, as second-seeded Furman, a team that came very close to winning the regular season title outright themselves, has a 2-0 advantage. We'll take that 10-minute break in between sets 2 and 3. Be back with more coverage of semifinal Sunday on the SoCon Digital Network right after this.
Make sure you're at the U.S. Cellular Center in